Good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Bonce. I direct the Master of Arts in Teaching program at Kansas State University. Welcome to our webinar on teaching modern languages. And one of the tracks in the MAT program, K-12, PK-12 track in the MAT program. And so I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Leah McKeeman, who is the coordinator of our secondary MAT program. And she'll talk a little bit about the program, the benefits, why you might choose K-State, the curriculum, all those kinds of things. And we'll also, before the end of the program tonight, tell you how to get an application fee waiver from us for attending the webinar, and also how to go about making application to Kansas State University. So welcome, and Dr. McKeeman, the stage, the floor, the computer, however you want to say it, they're yours. They're yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And Lorianne, it's great to meet you and see you. I'm glad that you have audio capabilities. Like Dr. Vaughn said, if you have any questions, just hop right in. We'll keep it really informal. And I mean, even skip our countdown because we don't need our countdown. We're ready to go. So these are the people that are kind of your go-to contacts as you're thinking about getting involved in the MAT program. So that's myself, Leah McKeeman, and I am a former K-State grad. I got my doctorate here. I also was a French teacher in a former life. I have taught preschool all the way through graduates. And so I've kind of covered the gamut of things. And then obviously our host there was Dr. Vance, and he is the director of the MAT program. So he has all the answers that you could possibly want when it comes to the program, how it functions and whatnot. When it gets down program specific, I'm going to be your gal. I can answer a lot of your questions there. And then the two other individuals, Diana Leone and Brittany Burgess. Those are going to be a couple individuals as far as admissions goes that can answer a lot of your questions as well. So these are good point people to get the process rolling for you as you get started. So the plan tonight is I'm going to just talk a little bit about the program. I will definitely leave some time for questions at the end, but like I said, if you have questions during it, feel free to pop on in. But just to get us started, I'm curious about where you're from and what language you're interested in teaching. Are you writing in the chat? No. So Lorianne, are you able to write in the chat or unmute yourself? Wonderful, good. Excellent, excellent, wonderful. Well, so then you're a Kansas person there, or in the area. So I'm glad that you're thinking about K-State. K-State is an excellent option for you. One of the big reasons, as you're looking into different graduate programs and different places to find licensure, is we have a great timeline. A lot of times when you get to this point, you're saying, I want to be in the classroom, I want to teach. I don't want to have to go back and do a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year degree program. So in 12 months, but really 11 months by the time all is said and done, we're able to get you from your first day of classes to graduation. And that's a pretty specialized thing. And as far as your cost and value, we provide a really high value. We provide a very rigorous, a very comprehensive program. Our graduates are going into the classroom feeling prepared. We have lots of practicum experiences that we're going to be talking about. And so you really have that confidence going in that I understand the teaching science, the teaching art, and you can do it at a pretty reasonable cost. There are other programs out there, but when you're thinking $55,000 compared to, $15,360. That's quite a difference. The other thing is we try to be very transparent as far as what you're getting, what's expected, what's upfront. So we try to be very transparent about that as well. Another thing to consider is there is a great convenience and some flexibility in the program. So it's all online. It's asynchronous, and then you can make it work for you. You can find well, actually you don't find that, but based on where you're at, we try to place you in a school that's near you so that you can find that practicum placement, that student teaching placement that's near you. And we work in all 50 states and even abroad, so those are options as well. But as far as if you're thinking about, well, is distance an issue? No, it's not going to be an issue. Now, as I say, it's an asynchronous model, which is great because then you can make it work on your time, whether that's in the evenings, early mornings, during the day, whatever works for you. However, with our program, there are often times where I'll have students say, hey, I have some questions about something. Can I Zoom with you? And so we'll find a time that works for both your schedule and my schedule. And I usually open it up to the rest of the program as well, at least our cohort for the modern language folks, to say, these might be questions you have as well, and we can do a Zoom. And that way you can have some synchronous interaction and I can do some Q&A for you if you do have questions, but the broad majority of the course is going to be asynchronous. And then it's personalized as well. So I'm the one who's providing the content. I create the modules, I do the online instruction, but we also have what's a TA model, which I think is pretty neat. You're assigned a teaching assistant from the very beginning. And so they help with the grading, they help answer questions, they monitor, I shouldn't say monitor, but they do observations. They give you feedback as far as what's going on, and they start with you at that first class and go with you through the program. So you have another contact person there as well. So not only do you have your little cohort that starts in May when you do and goes through and ends in May, but you also have a teaching assistant that's going to help answer questions and guide you. And then you have me as a faculty member who is right there step by step with you, answering questions, talking with you. When things get a little fuzzy, I'm there to help provide a little bit of clarity or an extra layer of explanation. And then there's a lot of experiences there. The quality, again, we're experts in our field. The MA students themselves, there's quite a diversity there. A lot of talented individuals. You're coming into this profession maybe as a second profession. You're really committed. You're wanting to be there. And so you'll find that the other students in the cohort are just as interesting and fascinating sometimes as the content that you're learning as well. And then kind of the neat thing for US News and World Report, we're number 10 with a curriculum and instruction master's degree. So we do have that quality behind us that others are seeing nationwide. Oh. See if it goes. There we go. So this is the course in and of itself. It is a full year. You're going to be busy for that year. However, we make it so that it's manageable for you and so that you have a lot of content and you're ready to go. So that spring intersession is in May. You start off with Social Foundations of K-12 Education. So that's a 3-hour course. That's the first course you have, and we're going to keep it easy for you, and we're going to start you off with one. But that's that intercession course that you're going to have. Then in the summer, you're going to take 3 different courses. You're going to have Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, which I believe is actually taught by Dr. Vance. And then you're going to have Teaching Diverse Learners, and then you're going to have your first course with me, Modern Language Colloquium 1. And that's one of the ways we front load a lot of teaching practices, some of those basics, those foundations, those theories ahead of time before you get into the schools, because in summer, most of us are off as far as school's not in session. And so we try to front load as much as we can for you during that time. So that way, when you get into the fall, you're going to be doing your MAT foreign language methods, and that's also with me. You're going to do a literacy class and diverse learner class. You're going to have another colloquium class, and that's also with me. And then you're going to have a practicum. And so that you have like 3 courses with me that semester. You're with me all the time. The 712, 798, and 800 are meant to work hand in hand. So we put you in the schools that very first chance we get in the fall, and all of the methods that we're learning, all of the things that we're talking about, a lot of the stuff that's happening in that colloquium is, different tech tools or different things that you can apply in the classroom. All of those assignments go towards the practicum. So they kind of can dovetail and work hand in hand. And that way you are practicing what you're learning as well, which I think has been a really positive note in our program as well. So you have that fall semester. Again, you're in the schools working with a cooperating teacher. You have classrooms and groups of students that you're working with. And so you're getting to practice your craft and your skill. Then in the winter intersession, you have another colloquium with me, which is just a couple-week class. And we talk about content knowledge and whatnot. And so that's another piece. And then in the spring, that's your student teaching piece. So your internship is the 801 course. You're with the same classroom, same cooperating teacher. And so the nice part there is you have some history continuity. You already sort of know the kids and you know the cooperating teacher and how you interact and work with each other. And so when you get into the spring, you can really kind of jump in both feet, get the ball rolling quickly. You have an action research project. And the neat thing about that is it really it works like my class did as far as you're practicing what you're doing. Well, here you're having this student teaching project and they're saying, well, let's reflect on your practice. And so you have this action research based on what you're doing in the class as well. So again, we're trying to dovetail it and really make it streamlined for you, but very rich and meaningful. And then you have a master's project, which is a portfolio that you put together. And so that's kind of the capstone piece of the course. So all in all, you have 31 hours in a year. It's an intense year, but very manageable, very doable. And, it's a year. And then you're a practicing teacher out in the schools. So that's our program. And I will let you note that we are a pre-K-12 certification. So a lot of world language teachers come in and they're planning on being a secondary teacher. And here you have that pre-K-12. So if you wanted to teach French in an elementary school, you could. So that's an option for you as well. And I'm just noticing here a question that you had, so I'm going to read it. I have an MAD from Rockhurst, but I'm actually interested in the language teaching classes. It would be social studies feature, but I need to teach French. Yep. No, and as far as social studies as well, that's one of the things that we will get to also. Not on this slide, but it's on another one. And so we'll talk about that. You can teach and test into other courses as well, or not test into other courses, test into other contents as well. So once you have a teaching license and one content area, then you can teach other contents as well. So for admissions, a graduate school application of $65. And again, because you're attending tonight, that can be waived. And so you would just go to the online at ksu.edu. And that's going to either probably go to Brittany. And so she can make that happen. So that's kind of a perk of being on tonight. Have an undergraduate degree, which you're set up and good to go. Unofficial transcripts are just fine. The content area practice test is a requirement. And even if you are a native speaker or near native speaker, we still have to have that as kind of our proof that you have the language, because if you have that content, then we can get you ready as far as the pedagogy goes, but we just want to make sure that you have that content. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more. You have some interview questions that you're going to have to respond to. We ask for 3 letters of recommendations, English language proficiency tests, and then the application deadline is going to be April 1st. So it will be this spring. All right, so the Praxis test, the content Praxis test is kind of one of our, again, admission requirements, gatekeepers, so to speak, just to make sure that we have that content background and knowledge ready to go. So the problem with our content is they're not offered very often. So for all of the languages that we license, which are down here, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish, they only have like week windows when they have those testing dates. So the first testing date would be November 29th through December 4th, and then February 28th through March 5th. And so if you ended up taking that Praxis test on March 5th, you wouldn't receive your scores until March 25th. And so for an April 1st deadline, we really need you to be able to do one of those content tests during those couple windows. So our testing codes are down here. So for French, it would be 5174. And then I have a website up here that this would be a great place to shoot you to. And instead of the numbers here, that's where you would put 5174. So it's ets.org/praxis/prepare materials, and then your code 5174. The tests, I would say, are challenging. Part of it is because of the design of the test. But as language teachers, even for like culture, if you've studied about a certain cultural aspect, awesome. But if you haven't, how are you supposed to know? And there's so many different areas of culture that, it's impossible to know all the little nuances. So that can be challenging. I would highly recommend doing the study companion, doing the practice tests for the Praxis. Those are very helpful, at least just to know the format and the layout of it. And it also can be kind of just challenging as far as there is a speaking portion, but maybe the three of us are doing the tests together and I'm doing the speaking portion, but you're doing the listening portion. And so if we're right next to each other working on that, it can be challenging too, just because of the format of that as well. One of the things that I tell all of my students, even my native speakers, as I said, just immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Again, read as much as you can, listen to as much as you can, because it is timed. Not only are you processing it, but then you have to respond to the answers kind of at a higher level. So whatever you can do ahead of time to practice, I highly recommend that. But again, there's only a couple windows. So I just want us to be very aware of the short time spans to do that. So, and this is one of the requirements for licensure anyway. So it's going to happen regardless. And we just get it out of the way at the very beginning. All right. So as you're thinking about funding your MAT, all students from all states are eligible to apply for these different forgiveness loans or scholarships. So look into that. If you are willing to teach in Kansas for a year after graduation, I would highly recommend you look at the Kansas Teacher Service Scholarship, and you can do that per semester. So these are some great resources to keep in mind as you're thinking how you would be funding the MAT program for yourself there. Often questions come, can I continue working? Yes. When it gets down to student teaching, it's a little trickier because you are in the classroom for a full day, but there are options. There are ways to get around that. Again, we just don't want you working so much that the quality of your learning kind of falls behind. And it is an intense year. So I would recommend, again, going back to that last slide, coming up with ways that you can get that funded so there's a little bit less financial pressure on you as you're doing a program. The field experiences, I kind of touched on that a little bit. We get you out there in the schools in the fall, and then stay with that same classroom or the same cooperating teacher into the spring when you're doing your internship and student teaching. So a lot of it will be, there's going to be some observations, but we want you working with students right away. You will be teaching lessons. You will be teaching chunks of lessons. There's sometimes team teaching or co-teaching. And you might observe one lesson and then teach another, team teach together. So there's a lot of variety on what that looks like. And if you ever have any questions about that, again, you can reach out to your teaching assistant, the TA, or you can reach out to myself and we can talk you through that and work with the dynamics there that you might have as well. The license that you're going to get, again, it's going to be a pre-K teaching license in the language that you took the Praxis test for. It is a Kansas license, but if you're going to go to the other question, the very last one, we do have reciprocal teaching license in a lot of other states, or you might just have to fill out a form, do a small piece of work. You would just have to contact that state department's Department of Education and figure out what you would need to have that license for that state. But Kansas is a highly regarded license, so a lot of times you don't have to do much, if anything at all, in order to get that to be reciprocated. And then as far as if you are interested in other contents, you know, if you wanted to have French be your language that you were going for, and then say, hey, I'm interested in social studies as well, all you'd have to do is take the social studies Praxis, and then you can teach social studies as well. So there's a lot of overlap in a lot of different contents, as far as it dovetails really nicely with each other. And so that's something to consider. And each content has their own kind of unique Praxis test. So again, I would go back to that Praxis website and look at their study materials and practice questions to make sure that you're ready and prepared for that. And so then next steps, if you're ready to apply, you can go to online.kstate.edu, or you can click on the link of how to apply. Again, this recording, you can come back to it and look through that again, listen to it again if you have forgot something that was said or whatnot. But again, one of the things to remember, because you're here, that application fee would be waived. So that's always really nice. And then again, this is our contact information if you do have questions. And so I'm going to look here at the chat to see if I've missed things. Buying the test, yes, buying those test prep materials are worth it. I would totally agree. It looks like you have done one of those in the past, and they're challenging. 9. You've done 9 of them. Oh my goodness. So you are a polylingual. I love it.
Well, not 9 languages, but I am certified to teach 9 different subjects.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. What subjects?
Oh, let's see. Social studies, middle school and high school, French, family consumer science, English, let's see, business. I know there's at least 3 more, but I just can't think of them off the top. Oh, ESL, computer science, and then, so maybe it's only 8. I don't know.
So manageable. Yeah. Those, and like I said, you know, of all people, those tests, you know, they have, each of them have their little nuances and whatnot, but I will say that I don't know, I could be biased, but I think the foreign language ones are some of the hardest ones just because Absolutely. Of the nature of the beast. So yes, I would agree. Those test prep materials are definitely worth it.
Yes.
Are there any other questions that you have?
The only, honestly, I wasn't coming on here to look for a master's. That's why I said I didn't want to waste your time. But when I saw kind of what the curriculum looked like, I'm interested in taking a couple of the language teaching courses, because I've never had them. I went through Rockhurst with my international relations degree to my master's with all the expectation that I was going to teach social studies. And after a year, I got a call back saying, remember when I called you about social studies? Well, I need a French teacher. You're fluent, right? And I'm like, yeah. Are you certified? No. Can you be? I guess. So, 6 weeks later, I prepped for the Praxis and I took it and everything else. And I've been a French teacher with a little side dish of social studies. Like I do 1 or 2 classes for them, but I'm mainly French. But I've never had any classes on how to teach language.
Well, and so this is the weird part, but I'm glad you're on. The MAT might not be for you because you are a practicing teacher and you do have the license. If you are interested in those language classes, you could look, same institution, KState, but instead of doing the MAT program, we have an online, completely online, but it's a master's program for modern languages as well. So that, you could get, if you wanted to just do like a class or a couple classes or go through the whole program, that might be something that might be a little bit more up your alley. So if you wanted to send me an email and I could send you information about that program, because again, this one definitely packages it up and you go through as a cohort, but that other one, you can kind of take it as you want. It's more a la carte. So then you can, find what fits you and what you need and go from there. And so I could talk to you more about that if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll send you an email. Yeah, because that's really was, but when I saw this, I thought, well, at least let me find out if I can join some of the classes, because I do have 7 years of experience, and I've served my students well, but I guarantee I could do better.
Well, and I have, yes, let's talk more, because I'm glad you were here. This might not be the right fit, but there is a good fit for you. And as you're talking, I actually have a student right now who is a practicing teacher. But again, after you've been in the classroom for a while, even if you have had that undergraduate teaching skills, you kind of need a refresher and a touch up every once in a while. And so she's in the program right now, and based on what my students need, I kind of tailor it. So sometimes it's kind of review to some of those back to the basics, and then we go into some of the more current issues, current trends, some of those more challenging types of pedagogies. And so we cover all of those types of things. So that might be a better fit for you. But I'm glad you came.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So I look forward to getting an email from you. We'll go from there.
Absolutely.
All right. If there's anything else, Tom, are we missing anything, Dr. Vance?
No, I don't think we are, other than to say I taught at Rockhurst 16 years ago or something like that. So
I was going to say small world.
Small world. I can't remember what were we, the Rockhurst? I can't remember our nickname off the top of my head, but well, the mascot. I don't know what it was, but anyway,
Hawks.
The Hawks, the Rockhurst Hawks. That's it. How could I forget? How could I forget? Yeah, Rockhurst's a great school, and but K-State's a great school too. So
my daughter actually went there her first semester. And was on the color guard and everything else. And then second semester, by 2 months in, it was COVID city.
Sure.
So she spent her next year just living at home, and she ended up transferring over to KU for right now. I think she actually wants to go back and do when she gets her master's, she wants to go back to K-State, but she started there, and my husband and I are big fans, but
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's great. Well, it was great meeting you, Lorianne, and I'm sure that Dr. McKeeman will set you up as best we can with what you want from K-State, and really appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I will let my other language teachers know, refresh them on the program. I know that our superintendent had sent out the email today, and that was probably the last email I got before our server went down.
Oh no.
So, hey, at least I got on the call.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad you did.
Well, thanks for your time. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't waste your time.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm glad that you did, because hopefully there's going to be a good fit. So, however we get there, we'll get there, right?
Exactly. Sounds great.
All right. Well, you have a great evening.
See you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.